In another news development this week, there was a decision in the AIG lawsuit, which was filed by, of all people, my former boss, Hank Greenberg, the former CEO of AIG, who was forced out by Elliot Spitzer, but who still retains considerable stock holdings in that company. Now, Hank Greenberg sued the government, saying that it was inappropriate for the government to take over AIG the way it did after AIG behaved so wildly recklessly. Now, Greenberg insists that wouldn't have happened if he was still in charge, but the government took over, took a majority share of AIG, took control of the company, required some changes, and in return bailed out the company. Hank Greenberg sued, saying that this was an unlawful government intrusion into private affairs. I'm simplifying a bit. But that's the gist of it. Number two, that he and other shareholders lost a large amount of money as a result. And number three, pointed out that there was significant difference between the treatment of AIG, which was subject to harsh terms and taken over, and the management changed and so on, and the treatment given to the Wall Street white shoe firms, the big banks and so on, who were bailed out with absolutely no conditions whatsoever. In fact, none of the bankers were prosecuted for the epidemic of fraud each of those institutions engaged in. So the ruling was handed down this week. A lot of people have said it may prevent future bailouts. I don't think so. Let me explain to you what happened. Number one, the judge said that, by the way, Hank Greenberg is a very sharp guy. He may have found someone even as foxy as he is. The judge ruled that Greenberg was right. The government exceeded its authority, but that Greenberg suffered no financial losses, so he got no money for it. Now, people are, now the reason why he said they suffered no financial losses is he said AIG would have gone bankrupt. The government rescued it. But the judge did insist that the government had overstepped its bounds by taking over and managing AIG for a period of time. Now, here's why I think he did it, and I haven't heard any other analysts say this. The judge is a George W. Bush appointee. I think he was ideologically opposed not to bailouts per se, although perhaps to those as well, but to the government takeover aspect of it. My feeling is this: AIG, there was discrimination in that AIG was treated so much more harshly than the big banks, but that doesn't mean AIG should have gotten the same cushy deal the big banks did. It's exactly the opposite. The big banks should have been subjected to exactly the harsh terms that AIG was subjected to. The government is perfectly right to say, in order to ensure financial stability, we will rescue your institution, but its leadership has to change. Its business practices have to be cleaned up, and it needs to be broken up to a manageable size. That is more or less what the government did with AIG. It's what they should have done with JP Morgan Chase and Citibank and Bank of America and Wells Fargo and the other too big to fail institutions. I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.